Storytime about how I found out my sugar daddy was stalking me. Disclaimer, this is not my storytime, it was sent to me on Instagram. I signed up to a sugar daddy website last year. I lost my job because of COVID. Just started my own small business and things were not going well. I also helped my parents out with money because I didn't want them to be working during COVID. I signed up to a website and instantly I started getting messages. One man stood out because he was very active and owned several businesses. I told him I didn't want to meet up because I just wasn't going to do that, but also because of COVID. He agreed to have a phone conversation with me and then eventually he offered me $5,000 a month. This was more than enough to help me and my parents out. After that, I was basically his online companion. He would text me and I would text back. We went out to dinner a few times, but because of COVID, we kept our distance. It was truly the perfect scenario for me. Then I noticed that he started to get really clingy. If I didn't text him back right away, he would get upset. One day I got another message from the sugar daddy website. Another man was asking me to go out to dinner twice a week, and he wanted to pay me $1,000 for this. So I said, of course. When I told sugar daddy number one that I'd be busy 2 days out of the week, he got really mad and asked me where I lived. I told him I couldn't tell him. That's when my sugar daddy asked me where I lived. I was not about to tell him where I lived. Disclaimer, this is not my story time, it was sent to me on Instagram. I told him I couldn't tell him. And he got really upset and offered me $2,000 more, which means that he would be paying me $7,000 a month. Then he said that he didn't want me to be with any other sugar daddies. At this point, I hadn't even told him that I was approached by another sugar daddy. So how did he know that I was talking to another one? I accepted his offer of $7,000 a month, but this only made him even worse. He would call me all the time and ask me where I was, and he would constantly ask me where I lived. He noticed the change in me and that's when he offered to buy me a car, a Mercedes to be exact. I didn't know if I should accept or not because I knew it would make him feel like he had more ownership over me. I told him that I wasn't sure if I should accept the car because of his behavior. Then he said that he would buy me my own apartment. I felt really creeped out, so I decided not to answer his phones or his messages the rest of the night. 2 hours later, I'm laying in bed and I hear a really hard knock at my door. It was him. My sugar daddy starts banging on my front door. Disclaimer, this is not my story time, it was sent to me on Instagram. And he didn't know where I lived. I looked through the peephole and I tell him to leave. That's when he shows me a wad of cash. He tells me I can keep it with no strings attached. I said no, and that's when he started calling me names. He started yelling really loud. I was hoping my neighbors would hear and call the cops. In order to calm him down, I opened the door and I let him in. Big mistake. He asked to use my bathroom and that's when I grabbed his phone. I saw on his camera roll that he had pictures and video of me. He'd been following me around for months. I started calling the cops, but that's when he came out of the bathroom. I asked if he could stay over and I said yes. I was so scared. We're supposed to have dinner tonight. The cops said they can't help because he hasn't heard. Part 4. I checked my sugar daddy's cell phone. There were so many pictures and videos of me, which means he had been following me around for months. Disclaimer, this is not my story time, it was sent to me on Instagram. I told him I was sick and he had to sleep on the couch. The following day, he left my apartment really early, so I called the police and I told them everything. They told me they can't do anything because he hasn't physically hurt me yet. My sugar daddy asked me out for dinner and I had to say yes, just to act like everything was normal. At dinner, he acted completely normal, like he hadn't showed up to my apartment the night before and yelled at me. That's when he offered me more money and the new apartment again. I told him I just couldn't accept it. Then I confronted him about the pictures and video on his cell phone. Of course, he denied everything. I asked to see his phone and he handed it to me. And of course, he had deleted all the evidence. So now it's just my word against his. Then he handed me keys to my new car. It's a beautiful car. I don't even know if I should accept it or not. Should I get a restraining order? I don't know what to do.
This is a story of the time that I caught my neighbor's mom talking smack about me. So I don't know about you guys, but every single Wednesday in my middle school, we would have a bagel sale. And some people's parents would come in to help out. And my neighbor's mom was one of those parents. And I had a best friend at the time whose mom would also work at the bagel sales. But this best friend of mine, her mom never let us hang out with each other because she felt that I was a bad influence on her. When in reality, it was the complete opposite. She was the one that snuck the boys in her house, if you guys remember that story time, where they peed in a flower pot. So basically her mom wouldn't let us hang out. And sometimes my friend would go with her mom in the morning, basically as a ride to school, and to help out with the bagels too. And one day when she went in with her mom, my neighbor's mom also was there too. So my friend starts eavesdropping into their conversation, and my friend's mom brings me up and says how much of a bad kid I am and a bad influence. And my neighbor's mom was like, "Oh wow, that's my neighbor, like we always suspected something bad about her, our whole entire neighborhood knows this about her," basically making stuff up about me. So then I go home crying, tell my mom. Part 2 of catching my neighbor's mom talking smack about me. So my best friend tells me all these things that my neighbor was saying about me, obviously. And I got really upset, so I went home and I just started to cry. Because for some reason I felt like when I was younger, every one of my friends' parents hated me. And I never really knew why. I was always the type of person to let my friends do whatever they want and encourage them in doing whatever they want, whether that's breaking the rules or following the rules. So I mean, I guess that could be something, but I'm just being a supportive friend, Sorry, I got off topic. So when I told my mom, she was like, "Okay, come with me, I'm gonna knock on her door." And I was like, heck no, I do not feel like dealing with this. Mom, you deal with it. So she calls her up on the phone, puts her on speakerphone, confronts her about the situation. And this lady starts going on about how she loves me like I'm her own child, saying that I was never a bad influence on her daughter, and that she actually wanted me to hang out with her daughter more. Like, that's not what she was saying at bagel sale. Reasons why people thought I was a hoe in high school. For this story, I was 100,000,000% the shitty person in the equation. And I don't deny that at all. Like, it was so fucked up that I did this. But I was 14 years old and I handled it the best way I could after the fact. So I was friends with this girl, we'll call her Barb. And me and Barb were in the same gym class. And she would always tell me about this kid that she was talking to. We'll call him Jacob. And me and Jacob had already known each other because we went to middle school with each other. And like, we would flirt here and there, but like, it was never anything serious. So then one day I was hanging out with my other friend, we'll call her Chelsea. P.S. Chelsea was the girl from my other story time where she slept with 2 boys in one night. So Chelsea wanted me to go with her and hang out with like this boy toy that she had and then his group of friends. And lo and behold, Chelsea's boy toy was friends with Jacob. So we all go to like this abandoned church. We do some illegal things, not gonna lie. And the entire time, Jacob was just like flirting with me, like mad hard. And I pulled Chelsea aside and I'm like, oh my god, like Jacob definitely wants to get with me, but I don't know what to do because of Barb. Reasons why people thought I was a hoe in high school, part 2. So I start talking to Chelsea and I'm like, listen, Jacob is really coming on to me strong. It's very obvious that like he wants to get with me and I don't know if I should because it would upset Barb. And Chelsea was like, bro, like, fuck Barb, like, who gives a fuck, like, he wants you, that's not your problem. And I was like, okay, well, if he tries something, I'm not gonna stop him, but I'm definitely not gonna make the first move. So then we're leaving this abandoned church building, I don't even know what it was. And me and him were talking, flirting, whatever. And just to paint an image of like where we were, I don't know if it was like a firehouse or like an abandoned church, but there was like a basement attached to it and it had like spray paint all over the walls, graffiti. It was a cool vibe, but it was like kind of creepy. But anyway, everybody was walking up the stairs, getting ready to go back to the cars. And he grabs my arm and he's like, hold on, wait. And my friend Chelsea like gave me that look like, you better get some, girl. And I was like, what's up? Just chill for 1 second on my page. I'm posting part 3 now. Reasons why people thought I was a hoe in high school, part 3. So Jacob pulls me back behind a wall and I'm like, what's up? And he was like, listen, I like really want to hook up with you, but like you can't say anything to Barb. And I was like, oh, like I don't know if I should, like I feel really bad. And then like we kept contemplating back and forth and then we came to a conclusion like, yeah, let's just not tell her. It was really fucked up. I know, but like just stay tuned because like I do handle it in like a somewhat responsible way. So we start making out and then my friend Chelsea comes back in and she's like, come on Mia, let's go in the car, like I have to go home. So then it's me, Chelsea, and Jacob in the back seat of Chelsea's boy toys car. And I think there was like somebody else in the passenger seat, that's why like Chelsea wasn't in the passenger seat. And we only made out for like 10 seconds, but the entire car ride home, like I felt so guilty. I felt so sick to my stomach. But then I was like, you know what? I mean, like the damage is already done. So then we like made out a little bit more in the car on the way home. Part 4 coming now. Reasons why everybody in high school thought I was a hoe, part 4. So me and Chelsea go back to my house. We have a sleepover and the entire time I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe I just did that. I feel so bad, blah, blah, blah. And you remember how like Chelsea was hyping me the fuck up like while we were in that situation, right?
Sister's room the whole time. My